What makes a good team? Is it solid teamwork? A noble leader? A wise and righteous mentor? If you're anything like the Power Rangers, the answer is all of the above, along with a core team made of 3 to 5 members that always wear color-coded uniforms, 1 to 11 special members that may or may not have started evil, and of course, theatrics. In this video, I'm going to be making my dream Power Rangers team, starting with the 5 core members, going to the 6th Ranger, and then finally the Mentor. I'll be doing this by briefly going over my top 3 Rangers per category to explain why I ultimately chose the number 1 spot. There is a catch, however. I made a rule for myself to only use 1 Ranger per team, so for example, if I use the Red Ranger from Wild Force, then I can't use any other Ranger from Wild Force. But before this video actually begins, if y'all guys could leave a like, subscribe, and also comment your dream Power Ranger team down below. So without any further ado, let's kick things off with the Blue Rangers. Number 3, Justin from Turbo. I know I'm starting off this list a little controversial, but I have to pick Justin as my number 3 spot for the Blue Rangers just because he is a kid, and I know that you can argue that that's the reason why he's annoying, because he's the only kid, I think the only kid ranger in all of Power Rangers, but to me that's inspiring, that's so inspirational, especially if you're watching Turbo as a kid, you know? You just get that one-on-one connection with Justin, but the fact that he's doing a lot of stuff that the adults are doing, that just like bumps him up on the list in my opinion, and that just makes him a badass in his own right, along with his Megazord being awesome, his twin turbo blasters being his weapon of choice. He's up there on my list, but sadly all of that doesn't quite push him over to the number 1 spot. So Justin from Turbo is going to number 3. Number 2, Koda from Dino Charge. I feel like all I have to say is Koda is an actual caveman, and that should be justification enough of why he's on the number 2 spot of the Blue Rangers, but I mean, like, everything Koda represents, man, it's just, I love to death. One, like, he's just amazing to be around, like, his charisma and charm is just, it shines the room, every single room that he enters, you know, but not just that, like, the fact that he has his caveman strength, he's arguably one of the strongest Rangers that doesn't actually have an ability or superpower, so Koda definitely belongs on this list, but sadly, all of that doesn't push him to the number 1 spot like Justin, so he has to go to number 2, but that's not like, I feel bad making this list, you know, actually ranking my team members and stuff, but Koda, he deserves the number 1 spot, but sadly, he doesn't quite make it for me, so he goes to number 2. Number 1, Max from Wild Force. And the number 1 spot for the Blue Rangers is Max from Wild Force. Now, I will confess, this choice does have to do a lot with nostalgia. It is very nostalgia heavy, but I can't help it, man. As a kid, I did gravitate towards the Blue Ranger all the time, no matter what team it was, and Max being in Wild Force, he came at the right place at the right time, man, like, for me to just instantly fall in love with. But the fact that, like, all of his designs are shark-based themed, I love that so much. I'm a fan of, like, SeaWorld water, stuff like that, surfing and all that, like, aesthetic going on, so he definitely checks every box. The Wild Force helmets in and of itself are one of my favorite Power Ranger helmets of all time, so Max being the shark, like a legitimate just a shark body head, and his Zord is a shark, everything about him is shark-based. I love the vest jacket he has in his civilian mode, just everything about him coexisting, man, I love, so I have to put Max on the number 1 spot of the Blue Rangers. Now, I need to address something before we get to the next color, but I've decided to put the Green and Black Ranger together into one list, and I also decided to do a top 4 instead of a top 3 to make it a little more fair. So with that out of the way, let's start things off with the number 4 spot. Number 4, Cam from Ninja Storm. Now, if you've seen my previous video, you might be wondering why I picked a Ranger from a team that I know very little about, but everything I do know about Cam obviously makes him a badass. I love the fact that his helmet can turn and split into make a different design. I love the way he morphs, his morpher in general being a spear. I love his Zord being a transformer, essentially. I know you could argue all of them are transformers, but his definitely has that transformer aesthetic going on, but everything about it, the fact that he's the only samurai in a group of ninjas, I love to death, but sadly, because of the fact that I don't know that much about him, is the reason why he's going on the number 4 spot, you know? Number 3, Trip from Time Force. Time Force being one of my favorite teams ever, there's obviously gonna be a few more members from Time Force on this list, you know, but obviously I gotta put Trip on the list just because he is the only alien on the Time Force team with abilities. That's just really, really cool, and yeah, the Yellow Ranger has abilities too, we'll get to her later, but I love Trip's ability to predict the future, even though it doesn't seem to be on command at all times. But I love the fact that he's connected with Circuit, like their little talking mascot on the team. I love the fact that he's so compassionate, man. There's this one episode that's just dedicated to him showing how compassionate he is. There's one monster that the Quantum Ranger is trying to detain. I think he's just trying to kill him, I'm not gonna lie, not even detain him. But Trip steps in between the Quantum Ranger and the monster, and he understands that the monster doesn't want to fight. Like, he has that compassion going on, and I love that so freaking much. But sadly, it doesn't quite push him over the edge to make him the #1 spot. But I definitely have a special place in my heart for Trip, man. So he gets the #3 spot. Number 2, Zack from Mighty Morphin. How can I not make a team of favorite Power Rangers and not include Zack, you know, the creator of Hip Hop Keto? Come on, man. Like, he is amazing. And kind of like Cody and a few other Rangers on this list, every time he walks in the room, every time you see him, you know you're gonna have a good time, you know? Like I said, he made his own fighting technique. That's something that not a lot of Rangers or even mentors do, you know? So that definitely pushes him over the edge to be the #2 spot, but sadly there is one other Ranger that does everything Zack does, but a tiny bit better in my opinion. So Zack is staying in the #2 spot. Number 1, Chase from Dino Charge. Chase does everything right in my opinion, man. Like, the fact that he does everything that Zack does and then some, he has that little extra charisma, and I don't know if it's just because he's from New Zealand, like the accent pushes it or what, but he also skateboards, man. And I know in my previous video I stated multiple times, if you add something that I absolutely love with the Power Rangers, then chances are I'm gonna love it 100%, and Chase is no exception, man. The fact that he skateboards, you added skateboarding to that's one of my favorite hobbies ever, so if this freaking Power Ranger skateboards, obviously I'm gonna be on the bandwagon on him. But like I said, man, his charisma is on point. He's from New Zealand, his accent's on point, he's like a ladies man, like everything about him is just awesome, and it checks every box that I'm looking for. So he's gonna be like my class clown of the team, you know, but Chase definitely deserves the #1 spot in my opinion. All right, moving on to the Yellow Rangers. Number 3, Z from S.P.D. The fact that she has superpowers should just be enough of a reason why she's on the list, you know? But if you know anything about me, I am a huge fan of comic books, superheroes, anything in that general ballpark, you know? Again, if you add something I love to the Power Rangers, I'm gonna love it 100%, and every single member on the S.P.D team has an ability or a superpower in and of itself, and Z, I really love hers. It's kind of like clone jutsu from Naruto or something like that. You know how she could like manipulate herself into different beings and just literally clone jutsu. But with all that said, sadly it doesn't quite push her over any more than the #3 spot, but bronze is still good, man, so definitely deserve the bronze tier. Number 2, Katie from Time Force. I can probably just repeat everything I said about Z from S.P.D, and it literally resembles Katie, you know, but the fact that she has superpowers, man, she's super strong, and she's one of the only members on the Time Force team with superpowers, Trip being the other one, but Trip is arguably my favorite ability on that team, so Katie is second by default, but still that shouldn't push her any lower. Like, I love Katie with a passion, but sadly not quite #1 spot, but still, she definitely deserves the recognition. She is 100% a team player. Like, she has your back no matter what, until Wes ultimately locked her away in the time ship, you know? Like, she was there, she was breaking the window trying to leave, dude. Like, she wanted to help, but ultimately she couldn't, you know? But I need that on my team, but sadly, she doesn't quite hit it, in my opinion. But there is one more Ranger, I think, that does all of that and then some. So Katie from Time Force gets #2. Number 1, Kira from Dino Thunder. Now, you guys are probably noticing a trend that every single Yellow Ranger on this team has a superpower or an ability in and of itself. I don't know why. Like, when I made the team and I was reading it out, and I was like, oh, like, that's a weird coincidence. But anyway, like, Kira from Dino Thunder just does everything 100% right, in my opinion. I love, up and foremost, I love her punk rock aesthetic, dude. Like, how can I not comment about that when you just one look at her and you understand? But her going back to her ability, she's like the Black Canary from DC Comics. Like, you introduce another thing to the Power Rangers, I'm gonna love 100%, but her Megazord, her team chemistry, the fact that she's a badass in and of her own right, you know, like, I just love everything about Katie, so definitely deserves the #1 spot. Alright, moving on to the Pink Rangers. Number 3, Kimberly from Mighty Morphin. Starting the Pink Ranger list off strong with the OG original Kimberly. I know she was a lot of people's first crush, and for good reason, but sadly she wasn't mine, she's coming later. Kimberly isn't just eye candy, no matter what the movie tries to tell you, you know? Like, she's a badass in and of herself, man. Like, everything that she does is for the team, you know? She's there to help everybody. Her weapon of choice being a bow, like, 100%, and the fact that the arrows are freaking energy beams, kind of like the white Dino Thunder, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But everything that Kimberly represents, everything that she's about, her Megazord, everything is just so freaking awesome. But sadly, there's other Pink Rangers that I love a tiny bit more than Kimberly, so she's going on the number 3 spot. Number 2, Shelby from Dino Charge. One of the more important qualifications of the Pink Ranger, in my opinion, is how well they stand on their own, and Shelby definitely proved herself, not just for her team, but for her parents as well, you know, at least her father, because her father wanted her to be a lawyer, and she was like, ultimately, she told him, you know, she finally brought up the guts to tell him, like, yo, I love dinosaurs, I'm gonna study dinosaurs, and then she proved to the team by understanding, like, her dinosaur knowledge is, like, through the roof, man. Like, she is a vital part of the team, and I love that so freaking much. And the fact that she has the Triceratops Zord, you know, but it's pink. Like, it's a nice refresher from the original. It's usually blue every single time I see it, but for it being pink, that was a nice retouch, you know? I love that so much, and just everything coexisting with Shelby and everything, like, the team, just the way they blend together. Dino Charge is one of my favorite teams, obviously, so I have to have, like, some of the members on the team, you know? But sadly, there is one other Pink Ranger that I cannot argue, no matter how hard I try, that she is the ultimate badass. So Shelby, sadly, she gets the number 2 spot. Number 1, Jin from Time Force. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't gonna have any other Pink Ranger on this list. But that's how much of a badass Jin is, man. Like, yeah, she was my first ever crush. Like, everything coexisting about Jin is the, like, oh my god, she is so freaking awesome. The fact that her husband died by the hands of the main bad guy, you know, and she ultimately became the leader because of that, but that's not trying to diminish that title at all. Like, I'm not trying to take that away from her. She's proven herself time and time again that she is the leader that the team needs, you know? And just everything about her coexisting. I know I stated in the previous video of mine, but she has this one monster at gunpoint, man. All the other teammates are trying to pull it away from her, and she's just, like, determined to get revenge over her dead husband. But, oh man, I need that on my team, dude. I'm not gonna lie. And ultimately, the Pink Ranger was the number 1 Ranger I picked, was Jin. Like, I was so certain that she was gonna be my number 1 spot that I kind of worked this team around her. I'm not gonna lie. So in my team, she is the leader, the Pink Ranger, you know? So ultimately, I'm gonna stop praising her at this point, but you should get the word across that Jin is my number 1 spot. Moving on to one of the hardest ones on the team is the Red Rangers. Number 3, Jack from S.P.D. Now, right off the bat, I do have to address that in my previous video, I said without thinking he's my number 1 spot, but this video took a lot of thinking, you know? And sadly, he is still in the qualifications, but he is in the top 3 spot, not quite the top 1, but that doesn't necessarily diminish anything that he does, man. I have to address, I love an underdog story, and Jack is all about that, man. He started off, like, episode 1, man, he was running from the S.P.D crew, you know? But he proved himself time and time again, and ultimately the mentor, Doggy, said, like, yo, either be the Red Ranger or go to jail, but he more than proved himself that role. He definitely deserves it, no matter what the Blue Ranger tries to tell you, you know? But I love Jack with a passion, and the fact that he, like, shows up, I don't even know what to call it. He defied gravity, man. I would say it's like a Matrix dodge, but it's so much more than that, man. I'm gonna have it on the screen right now, but everything about him coexisting, man, I love so much. But sadly, there's 2 other Red Rangers that just push it a little over the edge, in my opinion, so Jack gets the number 3 spot. Number 2, Wes from Time Force. I know I have pretty much every single Time Force member on this team, but for good reason, man. They're one of my favorite teams, so obviously I have to have the Red Ranger as well, man. But Wes can do no wrong. The fact that in the finale, he was determined to make the sacrificing play no matter what, even if that meant he would die, you know? But he wanted to do the right thing no matter what, and I love that with a passion, man. 100% deserves to be in the Red Ranger material, you know? I almost said leader, but Jin ultimately is the leader, damn it. But tricking his team into going on the time ship to go back to their original timeline to try to prevent the time stream from collapsing in on itself even if that means him being the only front line of defense. Like, come on, man, everything about that just screams heroism, so I definitely want that on the team. But sadly, in my own opinion, there's one other Ranger that just like has that ultimate heroism just bleeding out of through his heart, man, and that's ultimately why I have to have Wes in the number 2 spot. Number 1, Carter from Lightspeed Rescue. Carter is a special Ranger in my opinion, man. The fact that he saved lives before he even touched a Morpher, that definitely gives you bonus points in the badass category and the number 1 spot on my list. But everything that Carter does, he does what Wes does, but to me, a little more, because he wanted to do it even if he'd had no power. And the fact that he's just like, shoot first, ask questions never, man. Like, that man is just like trigger happy 24/7, and ultimately I want that on my team, I'm not gonna lie. But I love his battle armor ultimately being his motorcycle, dude. That's like some Transformer level stuff, dude. Like, the fact that like his Megazord is a fire truck on steroids, essentially. As a kid, I did want to grow up to be a firefighter, you know? And Carter being that, and growing up with Lightspeed Rescue, you know, it was definitely that special right place, right time thing going on, kind of like Max from Wild Force. But Carter, man, definitely deserves the number 1 spot. He's, like I said before, he's just bleeding heroism, man. Everything about that man is heroic as hell, dude. So definitely deserves the gold, Carter from Lightspeed Rescue. Moving on to the 6th Ranger, I have to address, it's gonna be like the green and black team. I ultimately couldn't quite decide and have just 3, so I made room for 1 extra one. Number 4, Eric, the Quantum Ranger from Time Force. It should be no surprise that yet another Time Force Ranger is on this list, but don't worry, he is the last one, I swear. But ultimately, man, everything that the Quantum Ranger does, or Eric, he is so freaking badass. The fact that he first shows up, he's just like, has his gun, just banging it against his hand, man, just striking that aura at all times, aura farming, man, the ultimate form of that. But the fact that his Zord is a dinosaur, ultimately we were so used to, up until this point, like, oh, it's spaceships and time travel and stuff, and he's like, no, my Morpher's from the prehistoric era and stuff, and my dinosaur Megazord, I talk to it, I don't actually go inside it and stuff, and everything he does just flips the script on its head, dude, and I love that with a passion. I love the fact that he ultimately made the sacrificing play along with Wes during the finale, you know, like, back against the wall, and he gave his Morpher to Wes to have the quantum power. Like, come on, dude, like, I love that so much. But the fact that he just barely skeeted by, and I'm praising him this much, you should know this 6th Ranger team is stacked. But sadly, Eric gets the 4th spot. Number 3, Trent, the White Ranger from Dino Thunder. Now, I know I've said this multiple times in my previous video, and I'm gonna say it again, man. This is arguably one of my favorite Power Ranger design suits ever, dude. I want to say that and the Zeo Gold Ranger, which he's coming up, like, that always goes like hand in hand, man, for first. They keep going back and forth battling each other. I can't quite choose one over the other, but for good reason, man. I love that so much. But in and of itself, Trent is a badass. The fact that he comes in so menacingly from the gate, and I know arguably almost every 6th Ranger shows up evil or turns evil at one point, but he had something special about him. The fact that he just has these light arrows that he just writes in cursive in the sky and stuff. He is just bleeding with aura. Same with the Quantum Ranger. I'm noticing a trend with the 6th Rangers, but ultimately, man, he is awesome. But I gotta bump him down a little bit just because it seemed like when he did join the good guy team, he was nerfed, you know? Like, but ultimately, he does deserve the number 3 spot, and just being on this list in general, man. Recognition where recognition is deserved, you know? Number 2, Jason, the Gold Ranger from Zeo. Now, everything I said about Trent, you can argue about Jason, man, but Jason just adds a little bit extra, dude. The number 1 main reason is that he is the original Red Ranger, man. You cannot top that. And he comes back, dude. It's like the prodigal son returns, you know? And snazzing while I'm at it, dude. I know I stated when I was talking about the White Ranger that I love his suit so freaking much. It goes hand in hand with the White Dino Thunder suit, but Gold Zeo, man, 100% I am in love with that suit, but that's not to diminish anything else about him, man. Like, everything is just oozing aura like every single other Ranger on the 6th Ranger list, man. But ultimately, there is one other person that I did decide, like, I did have the Zeo Gold Ranger as the number 1 spot for the longest time until a couple days ago. I ultimately, right before sleep, I changed at the last minute, but In my opinion, for good reason, so sadly, Jason gets the number 2 spot. Number 1, Orion from Super Mega Force. Since picking just one 6th Ranger was really impossible for me, I ultimately decided to pick the one 6th Ranger that can morph into every other 6th Ranger from the past. Like, I know it's kind of a cop-out, man, but Orion is really cool in and of its own right, even if you take that ability away from him, you know? Like, his weapon of choice being a trident, like, that should just give you bonus points than being a badass in and of itself, man. Like, I love different things, you know? Things that you don't necessarily see. Like, yeah, I see a blaster almost every single team. Like, if I see a pull cube with a Wild Force Silver Ranger, or if I see a trident, you know? Like, it goes hand in hand. The weapon is really, really important in my opinion. But where he really shines is he has the ability to have 2 different 6th Ranger powers and combine them if there was 2 Rangers on the original team, you know? Like, that is just freaking amazing, dude. Not only do you get to be every single 6th Ranger from the past, but you get to, like, spice them up and just combine their powers together and stuff. 100%. So ultimately, that is why I chose him as my number 1 spot of the 6 Rangers. 1, because he could turn into every other 6 Ranger in the past, but 2, because even if you take that ability away, his weapon, his, like, just characteristic, his, like, power, dude, he definitely deserves to be in the number 1 spot. Now on to the mentors. Number 3, Tommy Oliver from Dino Thunder. Now, I know some of y'all guys were wondering why Tommy wasn't in the Green Ranger or the Red Ranger or the 6th Ranger list, but ultimately I decided to put him in the mentor category, you know, because in my own opinion, this is like prime Tommy, man. Like, he's a mentor. He's knowing all his past Ranger knowledge. He's giving it to the new generation, you know? Like, that's so inspirational and so freaking awesome. The fact that he could morph into a Black Ranger of itself, you know? Like, he just has everything just dripping with aura, man. Like, I'm going back to the freaking 6 Rangers, I'm not gonna lie, but I can't help it, man. It's Tommy Oliver, dude. He is the original 6th Ranger. He's the freaking Green Ranger, White Ranger, Red Ranger, Black Ranger. I think that's all of them. But he's been around, man. Now, with all that praising, the reason why I put him on the number 3 spot is because it's kind of confusing in my opinion. You know, like, there are better mentors in my opinion, but if I just did what I was originally planning, I was going to do the ultimate cop-out and just have the Tommy with the Master Morpher and just have him as the number 1 spot, my mentor, but I don't think he was the mentor at the time, and like I said, that's kind of a cop-out, kind of like the 6th Ranger I did with Orion, having every other 6th Ranger from the past ability to morph, you know, but Tommy, ultimately, I gotta put in the number 3 spot. That's not, like, this list was so freaking hard, not just the Red Ranger or the 6th Ranger, but the mentors as well. Every single member of this team was hard to ultimately, like, concrete who's gonna be the number 1 spot, so Tommy has to be number 3 because of that. I'm not trying to diminish him at all, but I feel very terrible for having him in the 3rd spot, and I do agree that he deserved the number 1 spot, but in my own opinion, not my dream team. Number 2, RJ from Jungle Fury. Now, same thing I said about Ninja Storm's Cam, I could say the same thing about RJ. I know shockingly little about Jungle Fury, but what I do know has RJ front and center, dude. Like, that man is awesome. The fact that I'm pretty sure he's a stoner, and he has, like, such a laid-back charisma about him, dude. Like, the fact that he is a mentor, but he's also your best friend, you know? And I kind of need that in my team, but there's one other mentor that kind of does... He's way stricter, don't get me wrong, but the mentor aspect of it, he just does everything right. But RJ, man, not trying to diminish him, RJ, just everything about him. He has a freaking pizza shop, he has, like, just the fact that he was gonna be under, I think it was the shark. His dad wanted him to be under the shark fighting technique, but he was like, no, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna be the wolf. And I love that, man. I kind of love, I know it's like the, I don't know, the rebellious aspect of it, you know, same with Shelby and stuff, but whenever you, like, tell people exactly what you feel, like, that takes guts, dude. Like, not trying to diminish that at all. If you do that, definitely you deserve to be called a badass. And ultimately, RJ did that, you know? And everything that I said previously made him bump up to the number 2 spot, slightly ahead of Tommy, you know, but slightly a little lower than the number 1 spot, so I gotta give him silver. Number 1, Animus Doggy Kruger from S.P.D. Now, in my own opinion, I don't think I could have picked a better mentor besides Tommy Oliver with a Master Morpher, you know? But, like, everything that Doggy does, man, he does it with finesse, he does it with just umpage, the ultimate, like, just, he's so filled with wisdom and just badassery in and of itself. He doesn't just sit on the sidelines and watch the other teams do his dirty work, essentially. He goes out there and gets the job done, man. He dusts off the freaking Shadow Blade and just goes to town, man. The first time, I think it's the first time he morphs, there's a countdown of how many enemies he's fighting, man. I think he reaches like 100, but that being your first introduction, man, like 100% you get bonus points because of that. And another thing that just freaking blows him out of the water over any other mentor, in my opinion, is he ultimately stopped the greatest evil, you know? Like, he was the thing that stopped the great bad during the finale. It's usually like all the Rangers combine their weapons or do the power of teamwork or combine their Megazords. They work together some way, somehow to take down the biggest threat of the season, you know? But Doggy, man, he took care of it and then some, dude, and I love that with a passion. So 100% definitely deserves the #1 spot as the mentor of my dream team, and I'm pretty sure my brother would kill me if he wasn't. Going down the team, as the Blue Ranger, we have Max from Wild Force. The Black Ranger is Chase from Dino Charge. The Yellow Ranger is Kira from Dino Thunder. The Pink Ranger is Jin from Time Force. The Red Ranger is Carter from Lightspeed Rescue. The Sixth Ranger is Orion from Super Mega Force. And the mentor is Doggy from S.P.D. Now, like I said, this list was really hard to do, man. Like, ultimately, like, deciding who I want as the #1 spot was really hard. I had to move people around, and because of my one role, ultimately, that's what drove me to this. But if I didn't do my one role, I would have had a lot of Time Force people on here, I'm not gonna lie. But ultimately, I do love my list, how it turned out, and because of my one role, I think it made it fair and everything, so it was just fun to do, man. Overall, this was a banger and a half to make, and it took a long time to make, I'm not gonna lie. I thought this was just gonna be like a fun, whimsical video to do, but I took time and actually like thought about my choices, man, and ultimately that was really fun to do. So I'm really curious to see y'all guys' dream teams as well in the comments down below, and y'all guys don't have to do the one role I did, you know, you could have multiple people from the same team, and I don't really care, but I'm just curious to see like how y'all guys' teams would be different from mine. But ultimately, I had a really good time playing this. Now, if y'all guys are curious to see how I ranked every single Power Rangers team, I actually made a video about that. You can check that out here.